So students, welcome to our ninth week of the virtual cafe, the Advertising Capstone Challenge. And today we have a very special guest, Jessamy Ross. She's a copywriter at GrowthOps here in Brisbane. And I don't know, Jessamy, if you're going to introduce yourself, but she also won Award School back in 2014. Am I right?
Yep, you are correct. You're taking everything that I was going to put on that's on my slide, but that's okay.
Oh, that's right. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'll give the Zoom to you.
All right. So I'll do my screen sharing. Forgive me, I'm a bit rusty. It's been 4 months since I've been on Zoom. So share computer sound, share. Please install the Zoom audio device. No. Oh well, we just won't have my videos, I guess. I have to restart my audio sharing application. So let's just do without sound and I'll skip my videos. Sorry. Oh well. Okay, so hi, thanks for having me. My name is Jess. I'm going to take you through the ideation segment and hopefully add a lot of value for you guys. Just to help you, I think the hardest thing is when you get handed a brief or you get handed an idea and you just are like, okay, come up with something. And staring at that blank piece of paper, as the guys would know, is just the hardest thing. And so hopefully the little techniques and tricks that I'm going to take you through today will give you that place to start when you've got that blank page in front of you. And they work for any time you need good ideas, not just for advertising. So even if you're not someone that wants to be a creative in the future, or you don't even want to do advertising, you don't even know why you're here, these tools and techniques should help you out as well. So that's me. This was my slide that Nick stole. So I'm a Brisbane-based copywriter. I'm currently working at GrowthOps. I have worked at Ogilvy in Maida as well. I won Award School in 2014 in Brisbane. And then I've picked up some other awards along the way, worked on some interesting brands, Nestle, Woolworths, Dreamworld, which is very interesting to work on right now, Cobram Estate, and then a whole lot of really boring government clients as well. So I've worked across kind of the full gamut. And Griffith University, which I put in the boring comments as well, just didn't want to offend anyone. So that's me. But, so I'm a creative, right? And I think that there's a big misconception out there. A lot of people will say, oh, I'm just not creative. Oh, I just can't come up with great ideas. And I really think that anyone can come up with good ideas. Some people naturally are more just naturally off the bat able to do it. But if you've got a solid process in place and kind of the willingness just to let go of convention and step out of your logical brain, I think anyone can come up with amazing ideas. So that's what today is about, is helping you find your way to do that. And so Oprah is saying, you get an idea, everybody gets an idea. So but first, and this isn't going to work now because my video is not going to play with sound. I'll try it, but I feel like it's not going to work. When we have all these data and insights today, and when you're working on briefs, people will come with you in pages and pages and reams of data, and we know everything about our consumers and what they're doing. Why even bother to be creative? Why not just give them the exact words that they need to see that science tells us at that time? And I feel like tell me if it doesn't work. I feel the audio isn't going to work.
I think it was always misunderstood.
This is why.
People just didn't seem to like me. I think I annoyed them. I got on their nerves. I don't know why. That's just the way it was. Maybe I was too intense. Maybe I came on too strong. And when you can say, yeah, it was known, but you get used to it after a while. And then one day, everything changed. Somebody finally accepted me for what I am. Since I've got this job, life is completely different. I finally feel useful, good at something.
So that's an ad for, a wind power generation. And to answer the question of why be creative, because, the government just could have made an ad saying, at the Queensland government, we believe in using wind to power our economy. They could have made an ad like that, but instead they made this, which is so much more memorable and really takes you on a journey. This is one of my very favourite ads. I just love it. And why? It's because at the end, and I was watching your faces, the ones of you that I can see in my thing, as we were watching that, and the moment that you got it and you finally understood what this whole big setup was for, that was, there was a smile and there was that moment of recognition. And that's what people remember. And we call that the aha moment. So creative ads cause that moment. And why do we want to make that moment? Because it's going to make people remember our ad. We're exposed to 20,000 ads a day. I don't know, you guys are academics, whether that's true or not. I found it on the internet. But yeah, creating a moment where viewer engages with your message is this only way that you're going to cut through and be remembered. If it's not creative, it's not. It's crap. So this is so important to really nail creativity in advertising. I'm a passionate believer in it. So, for example, would you remember this ad? This is an ad for a Brita water filter. Oh, it's everything else is just a bottle. My water, my life. No, like there's no aha moment in that ad. It's just information that's being pushed at you. But have a look at this one for Land Rover Defender. Would you remember this one and what it's saying about that brand? It's such a more powerful and memorable moment to have an eagle looking up, because of course that's where you are in your Land Rover Defender on the top of the mountain, than to just say everything else is just a bottle. So we've got aha moments. Another one, we could just say, oh, take your iPod Shuffle on a run with you, but this says it so much better. Or we could say the Container Store keeps you organised. But this says it so much better as well. So all these ideas, these are all examples of creativity that creates that aha moment for people. But how do we actually come up with these ideas? What's the process to getting there? Which I guess is what today's presentation is about. And you have to think, the answer is learning to think laterally. So what that means is that's your key to the aha moment. So there's two different types of thinking. There's your normal kind of logical thinking, where your brain follows established pathways to find a solution. And it's a sort of thinking that leads you to a Brita water filter ad, right? It leads you to saying, oh, here's the benefits to you, and this is here's a clever tagline, and this is our ad. It's very established. It's logical. It's rational. It's normal. It's not memorable. It's boring, right? So what we want to do is think laterally to come up with these ideas. So when we talk about lateral thinking, we talk about the creative leap. So what that is where you're following along the logical path of thinking. And when you think creatively, think laterally, you kind of jump off that path, and then the person looking has that aha moment and carves their way back to the starting point. So this connection, this lateral thinking leap, it seems really obvious once you've heard it. It's why those ads, and why we love memes and why we love comedy. We wish we had thought of it, there's a certain pleasure in kind of figuring it out and getting it. So, for example, if we need to sell new sugar-free Chupa Chups, we could just say, this lollipop is now sugar-free, and take out an ad with a picture of the lollipop and just say that. But would people remember? So when we think laterally, we think around the subject and we make a new connection. So we could think, okay, sugar, what do we know about sugar? We know that ants love sugary things. Ants always eat our lollies. So then, following that leap along, you can produce something like this. We don't even need to say what's happening. People instantly get, sugar-free. Ants don't even want this. You make that leap, aha moment, and then you've produced something that has got emotion, it's got memory, and people are eventually going to remember it and go to purchase or try it because they haven't forgotten, basically. So how do we do it? How do we make these techniques for the creative leap? So these are techniques that I use in my work, with my most used techniques. There's literally thousands of ways, and there's heaps of great resources which I can put a list of books down for you and send through. I mean, I'm sure you guys are across advertising, a concept and copybook and all those sort of resources, but they're also helpful to use. But these are my faves. So just before we jump in, a note on big ideas versus executions, because especially when you getting started, when you first start thinking at a blank page, you often think, we could make this really cool app, and the app would, remember how many times you would done this, and then you go off down this whole tangent, but what you don't actually have is an idea behind it. So what I'm talking about is we want to think about big ideas. So we start with the customer insight or the unique selling proposition of whatever you're trying to sell, and then you think of an idea that will inform your thinking across everything that you do. So, for instance, should have gone to Specsavers, which is this ad here on that billboard. Should have gone to Specsavers is a big idea where we say, should have gone to Specsavers. We're going to show the things that people have been putting off going to the eye doctor, and this is the situations that they've ended up in. And so you instantly know what it is. So don't think of the billboard, think of the bigger idea. So the first creative technique I'm going to use is 100 boxes, and this is going to be interactive too. So if you don't have a pen or a pencil, you can use the chat function to write down stuff as well. So 100 boxes is a really simple creative thinking exercise that helps you turn off your logical brain and get past those first thoughts and explore more interesting territories in your thinking. So this is just, my notebooks are just filled with ruled up pages with boxes on them where I'm just writing these things. I'm going to tell you how to do it. So basically you draw up a grid of about 100, I don't know how many boxes you want. You can do 100, you can do 75, you're going to be okay. And you want to try and fill all 100 boxes relating to your topic as fast as you can. So what does this mean? It means that you write a word. So let's say you're selling birds. So I don't know why you're selling bird food. We wouldn't sell birds. I don't know if that's legal. Is that legal? Bird food. Okay. So you're selling bird food, and the bird food helps the bird have nice feathers. So you might draw up your boxes, and then you might write in your first box, feathers. Then you might write, and then you just go as fast as you can and write things that relate to feathers. You might write feathers, colours, rainbow, sky, flying, oil, just like that, going on and on. You might draw a picture of a feather. You might write an idiom about a feather. You might do an opposite of a feather. What is the opposite of a feather? A beak? Like, I don't know, a scale. So you keep following on, and you just write anything that comes into your head. It doesn't even have to make sense. But the point is, you don't question or evaluate what you've written while you're doing it. Just write. You just keep writing, and you follow your trains of thought along. When you get stuck, you can write a new word. So if you've run out of things to say about feathers, you might say birds in general, and just write everything you can think of that relates to birds or owning birds. And you just keep going until you've got to 100 or you pass out. And then what you do, once you have your 100 boxes full, you go back through and you have a look at what you've written. And you look for things that seem interesting, or see if you can find ways to connect these words back to the insight or the unique selling proposition of what you're trying to do. So it gives you a whole lot of buckets to explore outside of that first thought, which you often really get stuck on. Like if you were thinking about selling this bird food, you might be stuck on a rainbow lorikeet and you can't think of anything else, and you're like, I want to use all rainbow lorikeets to make the word birdseed or something, and you get stuck on this idea, but really there's so many. That's a terrible idea. There are so many better ideas than that. So what I'd like to challenge you to do is just to have a go, and we'll just do 2 minutes, or maybe, we'll just do 2 minutes. So if you can find a piece of paper, draw up some boxes, and then this is your task. So you've been asked to create a campaign to sell UE Boom speakers. So those ones, and there's 360 degrees of sound. So the sound comes out of the speaker at all angles. And that's the unique selling proposition of this product. So can you now do 100 boxes just relating to that unique selling proposition of 360 degree sound or speakers or what this product is? So don't question, just do. Go. 2 minutes.
Oh, one of your clients, is it, Jessamy?
No, it's not. I wish it was my client. I'm just working on COVID stuff. Well, I'm not working on anything at the moment, but mostly COVID things. So just go. Don't judge. Don't do anything. Just write. Go as fast as you can. So if you're stuck, here's an example of how you might get started. I should have put thinking music in. Okay, 1 minute down, 1 minute to go. How many can you get? Let's see, actually, who can get the most? It's a bit mean of me to introduce that halfway through, but...
Where's the elevator music track?
I'll keep going if you don't stop me.
That's Benny Hill, isn't it?
It was, yeah. That's how you feel, because you should be writing that fast.
Well, that's right.
Sped up. All right, 10 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, how'd you go? What I was thinking, if you could open chat, which I think I can open. Oh no, I've opened up the wrong page. Can you write down how many did you get? Count your boxes, go and have a look back through them. How many did we get? Not that it's competition. My screen went away.
Can you see the chat box?
Yeah, are you now seeing my University of Queensland?
I think Emma's done the most so far. Wow.
Emma's done 40, Renee 23.
All right, so
Don't
now,
judge. Don't judge.
well, who got the most?
Emma, I think she got
Yeah.
40.
Emma.
Doesn't matter if they're great words, Emma. It is honestly quantity over quality. 40. All right. So does anyone want to just write down what are some of the words? What are some of the things that you wrote? Just chuck some down. Doesn't even have to be the best ones. Just what are some things? Don't be scared. Everyone's scared. Loud. Yes. Love it. Sonic boom, dust, glitter, coins, fast beats, slow beats, fire explosions, dust. I love dust explosion. I can see that though, I can see reverb, vibration, sensors, periscopes. Love that. Is there an angle in that? Yeah. So as you can see, just from those words, going back through them, hey, there's central, emotional, 360, VR, soundtrack rotating, like there's a whole range of different ideas, if you had sounded 360 degrees, what does that mean? So it just gives you some different jumping off points to how you could represent this and get started. So I do it like basically every time I sit down to do a job, I'll do 100 boxes because it just frees you up from that kind of world of, thinking about the dumb ideas. So the reason why I used the UE Boom is because when I did award school, it was one of the questions. And so, I did my 100 boxes and I wrote down, reverse, back to front. I'll bring it up. So yeah, if I was write down upside down, back to front. And so from there, I went back through, circled those. Okay, what does that mean? And this is where I got to. So music in every direction, and you've got iconic band labels, but they're back front. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's a good idea. I thought it was good. So you can see how just a little exercise, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a different way of looking at it that I didn't initially think of.
Pretty good layouts for a copywriter.
Hey, tracing paper, we learn to trace. I think that idea got up on the wall, so it stood me in good stead. So
I like the blurb.
Yeah, robe.
Robe.
Yeah, clever.
Yeah.
All right, so so it just shows kind of how that can follow through. So the second creative technique I wanted to share with you is, this one's a bit weirdy beardy, so stick with me. So this is called provocations. So this is a lateral thinking tool from Edward de Bono, he of the many coloured hats, which you may be familiar with his hats. There's no hats in this one. So the short story is, what you do with provocations is, it's kind of a framework where you make shocking or outrageous statements about your topic or the problem you're trying to solve, which can be wrong or impossible or crazy, but those statements can then be used to create new ideas or more sensible versions of these crazy ideas. So I'll explain how it works. Look at that nice headshot we have of Nick there just come up. It's very nice. All right, so an example of this, now stay with me, is if the problem we were trying to solve was that cars run out of petrol after only a few hundred kilometres. So some provocation statements, you'd take that question, you'd sit down with your pencil and paper and you'd write some things down that would solve that problem, but maybe in a bit of a crazy way. So, and you write PO in front of it, just because it's just so you're not being serious. It gives you permission to say whatever. So if you say, Poe, invent a car that tows a petrol station behind it, or invent a car that runs on air, or make everything that the car has to drive to closer. You just try and make some outrageous statements that may not be possible, that most likely aren't possible at all. And what that gets you is to a point where you can step back towards logic and find a more realistic solution. And that's called a movement. You don't need to know that it's called that, but that's what it's called. So an example of this is, so if the problem or statement or that you were trying to solve was the people that come into your restaurants don't like what's on your menu, a provocation statement could be destroy the menu, just destroy it, burn it. So that's not realistic. People need to know what to order. So then you can have a look at that and think, okay, so you could destroy a menu, or, if we don't have a menu, you could choose from a list of ingredients and get a surprise meal, or you could order on a computer screen, or the restaurant only cooks one thing and that's the name of the restaurant. It's just a donut restaurant, or, or a bird food restaurant. So you bring your own food to the restaurant, provides an amazing environment to eat it in, like a picnic restaurant. So these are all really different sort of ideas that actually could be possible. And I mean, there's a little Japanese restaurant that I've been to where you do order on a computer screen. So you can step back and find some really interesting ways to answer the problem of, hey, restaurant patrons don't like what's on our menu. So the best way of learning to do this is for me to force you to do it. So I'm going to force you to do it. So here's a provocation for you, and you're going to have a go at writing 4 of your own. So in an advertising context, let's say you've been asked to create a campaign to encourage kids to play AFL. And the problem is that kids are leaving AFL to play soccer because it's cooler. So what you need to do now with your pencil and paper or whatever is come up with 4 provocations about this. So crazy statements, that kids are leaving AFL to play soccer because it's cooler. So don't be afraid, don't judge, just go crazy. So, an example provocation is replace the word kick with yeet in all commentary. The umpire calls free yeet, or the commentator says he yeeted the ball. That makes it cool, right? Right? Hello, fellow kids. So have a go. Come up with 4 statements. I'll give you, or as many as you can. I'll give you 2 minutes. No Benny Hill music this time.
Oh, you're talking to Victorians where it's the home of AFL. Jessamy.
I know. Well, to be fair, this is also, I just cheated. I just took award school briefs that I worked on. So this was a real brief. I didn't make it up. I think AFL is cooler than soccer anyway.
Oh, my son plays soccer. He doesn't like AFL.
Well,
he's only 9.
He's not going to like some of the suggestions.
I like that. I like this. It's a great idea. Great.
All right, you got 20 seconds. Seconds now. I hope you got 4. It's okay if you didn't. All right. Timer is stopped. All right, so open up chat and give me some. Show me some of your provocations. Give me some examples. Is that turn the playing field into bouncy castle? Love it. Take away safe rules and let it be a free-for-all. UFC, AFL. I love it. Create a ball advice. That's very cool. Soccer is so un-Australian. If soccer is cool, you'll freeze to death. Free pass to death by boredom. Legally denounce soccer. I love it. We just get it banned. Every time ball is kicked, sparkles fly out. That's pretty cool. I love sparkles. Love it. Exactly. So these statements are pretty out there, right? Like streamers. always streams the whole time. So these statements are pretty out there. But if you have a look at them, you can kind of see how you could make a movement away from the out there statement into something that might work. So turn the playing field into a bouncy castle. Okay, we can't do that, but could we have bouncy castles at every game? That's also kind of crazy. But, you know, could there be a fun activity or something that we put up at every field every weekend that, like, after the game, the kids get to participate in something fun, you know? Or if we take away safe rules and let it be a free-for-all, okay, we can't do that. I'm trying to think of a movement for that that's not so insane. But maybe it's about taking away the rules for a bit, and you know, they have is it in AFL is it in rugby league, how they have the running race at the grand final, and there's like, I think it's league, and they do a race for the fastest person. So doing that, so having, we'll have a running race at this point of it, or we'll do some other skill thing within AFL, like that could be an idea. Legally denounce soccer, I think there's a lot in that territory. Like you can already see, you know, with the whole Hungry Jack's Big Jack thing, right? Like we take on soccer in the papers and just basically denounce it and start some sort of brand war between soccer and AFL. Like there's a range of fun ideas that fall out of this that are a lot more interesting than where we started. So I just...
Jessamy, can I just ask you on that? Because you've brought up a really interesting point before you go too far. Oh, yeah, no.
That's all right.
Taking something away from another brand, so from a competitor, or, you know, ridiculing them. Do you see that as an ethical ploy?
I hate that. I hate the burger wars. Like, yuck. It fills me with it actually fills me with rage, and it makes me shout at television. Like, I just think, and all the Twitter banter between brands, like I hate it. But I feel like consumers hate it because I feel like it's not customer centric. Like you should be focused on your customer, and you should be writing customer centrically, and you should be thinking about the benefit to the customer. And I think brand wars kind of ignores that benefit. But for the purposes of this exercise, it's something we could do. But I wrote down some other provocations that I thought of as well, like murder all the children who play soccer. You know, AFL is a high-end brand name for luxury goods, so you get like cool rappers, I don't even know who's cool these days, wearing AFL branded gear, and it just becomes, you know, elevating the game that way. Joke book about how uncool soccer people are, memes, I don't know. So you can see that it just kind of opens up your thinking to things that are a little bit more exciting and interesting. And I'm very quickly going to, I'm going to show you an example of an ad that I made that came from a provocation once we're off this page. And while I'm doing that, while I'm playing that, I'm going to run and get my power cord because I'm about to run out of power. So this was an ad that when I was working with my creative director on this one, when we were brainstorming it, we were doing some provocations, and a provocation that we came up with. And I mean, this is not the best ad in the world, but it directly demonstrates provocation. So the problem was that it's a power line safety ad, and the problem is people don't see power lines until it's too late. Like you just don't see that they're there, and then, you know, you put up your step ladder and you are dead. So the provocation we came up with was that all lines are electrified, so you always have to be on alert. And from that, we thought, what about all the other lines in our lives? And so we used that to kind of as the guiding principle behind this ad that we made.
Try to stay in the lines, honey. Look, 2 lines.
Won't be long. We spend our lives looking at lines. Don't miss the ones that matter most. Take care. Stay line aware.
Take care. Stay line aware. So it's just a government ad, but it, you know, because we had that provocation, we were able to come at it from a different way that wasn't, the first thought. So that's just an example of provocations at work. So only 2 more techniques, and these ones are a little bit, the provocations is the hard out there one. This one's much more simple. So another great way to start thinking about of ideas is to think about the benefit of the benefit. So your brief will give you features. If you're lucky, it should give you the benefits of the product to your target market. So what you need to do to think creatively is explore the benefit of the benefit. So ask yourself, okay, so the benefit is, I'll show you on the next page. So this uncovers possibilities that benefits open up and exposes some really good ideas. So for example, if we're selling a tree house for the kids, so the action we want people to take is to buy a tree house from us, from our tree house company. The benefit is the kids are going to have fun. The benefit of the benefit is you'll get time to have your own fun. And from there, you can already see, hey, this opens up a world of, okay, well, what is that fun? How can we show that to sell our tree house rather than just kids having fun in a tree house? For example, or another example is, we're selling you a faster internet connection, so we want you to upgrade. So the benefit is you can do what you want to do faster. Right? So you can do what you want to do faster. But the benefit of the benefit is what that lets you do. So you'll be the first in line for online dating to get the hottest chicks. I don't think that's how online dating works, but anyway. Or, you'll see the videos before they go viral. So you'll be like, when they say, oh, I saw it when there was only, 5 views on this video. Or, you'll get hours of extra time in the day. So we're showing what you're doing with that extra time rather than sitting there downloading. So you can see it's really simple to say, okay, what's the benefit of the benefit? But it opens up a lot of really interesting ideas and territories. Or you can think about what's the benefit of the downside. So this is an awesome ad for, I don't even know what type of car that is. Porsche,
yeah.
Porsche, 911.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we've all got one in our backyards.
Yeah.
2.
But, the headline is the more kids you have, the more practical it becomes. Because why? Because you can leave the kids. You don't need to. This is more resonant for the older ones of us in this conversation. But, you don't have to. You can't take them with you. So, it's a great technique for thinking of headlines. And it makes it easy to see how ads like this kind of, like you can when you watch this ad, see if you can make that connection of this is exactly how it was made. It's probably Australia's best ad. I love it. Everyone loves it.
Dad, why did they make the Great Wall of China?
That was during the time of Emperor Nazi Goring, and it was to keep the rabbits out. There's too many rabbits in China.
Okay, now Daniel will do his talk on China.
It's just so good. It's just so good. But you can see, right? Exactly. That's how they made it. They thought about what's the benefit of the benefit, and they ended up with that. So it's a really useful tool to use, and it's really easy to think of. You don't have to get your head around what a provocation is. You just think, okay, what's the benefit of the benefit? And one more. Now, this is a book, and I'll put this link in the chat so you can click on it. So this is a book of ideas. I'll put it into the chat so you can click on it now to download it. I feel like the site that I'm sharing it from is not loaded with spyware, but I'm not sure. I've downloaded it that many times myself that I think it's going to be okay. So wait on, let me drop this into chat for you. There it is. So it's a little PDF, and I've got my copy of this printed, and I refer to it often. It just has a whole lot of, I've lost my PowerPoint now. It has a whole lot of different thinking exercises in it, basically, and it's designed for advertising. So it invites you to think of the unique selling position. How would you show it without words? How would you show it by mixing and matching different elements? And then it gives you some little dot points underneath each one to kind of thinking prompts that'll give you prompts to approach the product and what you're selling in different ways. So I won't go into it now, but definitely one to download and print out and have a look at. If you ever get stuck, pick it up, flick through, try reframing, try explaining this in metaphor or an analogy. You know, is there any play on words or double meanings? It'll kind of help you through that process. And mostly I used it a lot when I was first starting out, and I feel like now I get to a lot of these myself through doing provocations and stuff, but it's awesome and really, really useful item. So the tips, those are my techniques that I wanted to run you through, that they're just what I use, and my tips for success. So go big on ideation. Don't judge your thoughts. When you are at this stage, it really is about quantity, not quality. It's about putting everything out, just chucking it down. Bad ideas are fertilizer for good ideas. So just throw them down, don't judge. I think this is the bit when people say, oh, I'm not creative. It's just that they can't turn off that judgment bit of their brain. So if you can turn that off and get through it and just put a whole lot of stuff down, then you can pick back through the crap and find the gold. Once you've got all your ideas down, that's when, you search for the gold. You find the best ones. With those ideas, you create a territory. So you name the idea, you describe it in a sentence underneath. What is this idea? And if you can't explain what it is in less than 1 to 2 sentences, it's not, there's no aha moment in the idea. So you should be able to explain it really easily and for it just to make sense. If you're doing a really, really long explanation of, oh, it's an app, and then the app downloads your picture and then it turns your picture into a painting and blah, 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 then that's not a big idea. That's a small idea. And you need to find a big idea platform that sits above that. So, for example, if the insight is customers like the look of a Mac but think PC is more functional, some big ideas that could apply to that, or some ways you could write some ideas for that is, you could have an idea, Beauty and the Beast, where we show the sleek function of a Mac, or sleek shell and functions of a Mac, but use savage animal cues to show the beast within doing the grunt work. So what could fall out of that is a poster where the CD-ROM has teeth, or I don't know. This is not a good idea, but it's an idea, right? Idea 2 could be history in the Macking, where we take iconic historical events and showcase how they could have been made more incredible with a Mac. So what would the Sistine Chapel look like with a Mac? Mac's more secure, so would Watergate have happened? I don't know. It's not, but even though that's not a great idea, it's got a name and it's got a 1-sentence description. And then, idea 3. Oh, I skipped it. Oh, it's actually a good idea. I'm a Mac. This is one of the most famous campaigns of all time. So, we personify the Mac PC through 2 human characters, a stuffy suit and a cool creative type guy. And we use the personality to help customers realize that actually Macs can do it all and we'd rather be a Mac. So that's just showing different territories for the same idea. And that's what you should do once you've written everything down and gone back and picked up the good ones. You then turn them into this sort of little idea with a territory underneath. And if you can explain it in a short chunk like that, you know that your idea has legs. And this is not good ideas, these are just photos I had on my phone, but then you get it on the wall. So if especially when you're working in a team, you can't hide away your ideas and not show them to people because you're scared that they're not good enough or that someone might judge or whatever. You can't do that. And, if you go to work in an agency, that's the first thing your creative director will teach you by getting mad at you, most likely, is that you can't sit, you have to expose your ideas and expose your thinking, present them, explain them, stick them on the wall, get people's opinions. And that's how you'll find holes, poke new holes in it, work out how you want to move forward, and work out if it's a real idea. If you start explaining to someone and you find that you can't do it easily, then you refine and you change it. And the worst thing you can do is just to keep your ideas in your own little notepad and not give them air and expose them to the rest of the team. So sticking things on the wall is one of my very favorite things to do. And you just have to get good at it, especially if you're a perfectionist. It's really hard, but it's one of the most important things that you'll learn how to do. And just remember, people hate ads. They really freaking hate ads. They do not like them as a general rule. So if you're going to make an ad, make something that people like, because otherwise they genuinely will hate it. So be creative, be playful. Doesn't matter if it's just a little, an Instagram ad. If you can find the aha moment that people can have looking at it, then the ad is going to be a million times more successful than delivering them the correct message at the correct time. You've got to have that thing, and it's got to be fun, because it's so much fun. And boring ads. My least favorite thing at the moment during COVID is there's so many ads that are like, at blah, we believe that that's why and it just goes on like that, and it's just the worst. So if you've got to make an ad, make something that people will love. Be creative and have fun. And that's it. Questions?
That's great, Jessamy.
That was amazing. Thank you.
It's the sound of one hand clapping.
Very good.
You got standing ovation.
Someone stood up and stretched. Yeah. Any cues?
Okay, students, we'll open for your questions first. So go for it.
I have a question. So, as you probably know, we're doing a brief on Suzuki. How would you approach a car ad, I guess is my question, in a fun way?
Well, I would think about what's the unique selling proposition that they've given you. Is there one? Or
that Suzuki's are the most fun brand in the world, in the universe.
That kind of gives you license to do a lot of stuff if they want to show that they're the most fun brand. So if that's the USP, and is there a customer insight at all into why people drive Suzukis?
Not really, Jess. No, really. They sort of talk about affordability and value for money, because they're at the lower end of at the entry point to the car market. Yes, so in the lack of finding a deeper insight, they're just fun.
Right.
Yep.
So, what does fun mean to people?
Yeah, I think all of the students are doing this slightly differently at each university, Jessamy. So, as you probably know, this is a competition. So,
So, okay, well, I'll phrase what I'll say generally. I won't get into
I think people are skeptical of saying what the insights are. They don't want to give away.
Well, if the benefit, perfect way to start. If the benefit is that they're fun to drive, what's the benefit of benefit? That's a perfect starting point to think about Suzuki. I do 100 boxes thinking about what's fun, thinking about cars, thinking about cars, fun. The target market is young people. Is it younger people or just anyone?
Yeah, that's right. Younger people.
Younger people. So
yeah.
I think about what young things that are relevant to young people, that are fun for young people. I'd do 100 boxes. I'd do some provocations where I'd be like, okay, so if the provocation we could say about Suzuki is maybe we have to kind of set up a problem. So maybe say people don't know that Suzuki is fun. So then we can set some provocations. How would we show people that Suzuki is fun and give ourselves permission to say absolutely insane things like Suzuki is run by actual literal clowns. The clown is the CEO is a clown, or just absolutely crazy things like there is a circus at Suzuki, or the new Cirque du Soleil. Suzuki has bought Cirque du Soleil and is stocked by cars. I don't know. You just go through all the crazy stuff and then do your movements back towards normality, and see what you get and have fun. Because you literally are advertising fun, so you have to have fun. But that's where I'd start. Benefit and see where you end up.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Hi, I have a question. So how do you start unpacking your big idea once you have it, to start putting it onto touch points and understanding how you can creatively put your idea in different ways and in different formats?
So you start with a bigger. Often you do think of like a poster first. I'd be lying if I said you always think of a big idea first. Sometimes you do think of a poster or a TV ad. Then you need to retrofit it. So you just extract a big idea out of it. You have to have that big idea, because once you've got that, from the big idea, you think how that relates through each channel and each of your touch points. So with Specsavers, if their big idea should have gone to Specsavers, they then think, okay, how does this work as a billboard? How does this work as a TV commercial? How does this work as a TikTok challenge? You think about how that works, and just having that big idea gives you a framework to do that. If you think of a TV ad and then think, oh, well, everything, without thinking of that big idea above, you kind of get stuck. So always find the big idea, even if it's not the first thing you thought of, and retrofit it. That's what we do.
Thank you.
The Specsavers campaign is fantastic, really, and the brilliant conceptualization, and stunning creative. I don't know who the agency was. Was it GrowthOps?
I don't know. Oh no, I wish I could.
I think it was Clemenger in Melbourne.
Ah, okay. Oh.
Yeah. So good. I love it. Although something that GrowthOps Melbourne did the other day, the new catch.com.au ads. If you've seen them, the ones that are Camilla Parker's bowls and all those ones, I love it. I'm fangirling hard on those guys down there right now. I'm like, that's so great. I want to work on catch.com.au.
Yeah, we had Pieter von Wheeler a few weeks back from AJF. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can start to call ourselves our actual names again now. So we're still GrowthOps, but yeah, they can just call themselves AJFs again, and we can just call ourselves Chemistry again. So that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love their work.
Anyway. Something else that might be interesting to talk about is when the creative starts driving the strategy and how that affects budget and how you negotiate that with your team.
Oh, God. I wish I had the answers.
Do you have any experience with it?
It depends what sort of a brief you get. So if you get a brief that has already come through strategy and has really clear sort of, okay, well, these are the channels and this is the strategic approach we need to get to the messaging, then the budget's already set. You can make suggestions then, and so what you do is you present all your big ideas, and then at the end of each one you'd put in like a page of all your sweeteners, like, oh man, we could do this, but what if we could do this, but what if we could do this as well, but that wouldn't fit within the budget. And then sometimes if you're lucky you get a blue sky brief where they don't know what they want and you get to make it up. But yeah, depending on what you're working with, yeah, I
So
always
I'd say similar to like a freemium where you give them a little bit and say, but if you sign up for more, you can get.
I love that.
Okay.
That's the best way of putting it. Yes.
Cool.
Put your little bit of excitement there at the end, like, and if you love this, well, it could be this or it could be this. But you always answer the channels that, if they've said specific channels, you answer those first, and then you say, and then we'll do a TikTok challenge of this,
Yeah. Thank you.
This challenge has come via Deloitte Digital in Melbourne, Jessamy. The creative is run out of Deloitte, but the indication I got from the presentation, the pitch, the briefing, and also the Q&A was that this is what we want, but actually we are open to anything.
Yeah. So you answer what they want, and then you say, or you present them two ideas that are safe, and then one that's just crazy. So you probably don't have the luxury of presenting multiple ideas, but
no, they got an opportunity to pitch one really. Well, unless it's full of tentacles, but you know what I mean, a very multi-layered, whatever it is. But they've got a 15-minute pitch as in the competition.
If your big idea is solid, so if you've got your insight and then you've got a lead-in page that's like relates directly to the insight and then leads into your big idea and your little sentence underneath your big idea, they should get it. Like if you've got a really strong big idea, your client should be sitting there like, yeah, I get it. And then you're showing them the executions and they're like, yeah, I love it. And then you show them your page of like, oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. And they're like, yes, this is the best. That's what you should be doing. But really, your big idea they should see that and be compelled. They should say, okay, yeah, all right, I get it. Circus Suzuki. Cirque du Suzuki. I don't know, whatever it is. But like I can see it, right? And you just say the name of the idea and you get what that would be, right? That it's all circus performers and that's it. So you should get it in that first slide. They should have an idea of what it is, and then you're just showing them how it works.
I like that, Cirque du Suzuki. It's great.
By the way, if any groups or any students use that idea now, it's considered plagiarism and therefore not allowed in the competition.
It's a terrible idea. It wouldn't work. But because Cirque du Soleil is like shut down forever, right? So Suzuki rescues Cirque du Soleil, and no, I'll stop. I can see it, right? It's not good, but it's real. It's there.
It's one idea.
Yeah, but I hope that answers your question. I think that having the structure of a big idea, insight, lead in, big idea, and then executions, and then what ifs, I think is a really great structure to follow. You don't follow that structure every time that you pitch, but it's a really good way to present creative. And just kind of, you got to take people on the journey. And I think that's a good way to structure it. But that's me. That's how I do it.
All right, guys, I'm conscious of time, so we might have time maybe just for one more question. If anyone has any burning questions they want to ask Jessamy. Nope. All right, then. Jessamy, on behalf of all the students here and the lecturers as well, and the Virtual Cafe hosts, myself, David, and John, I'd like to say thank you so much for giving your time and, away from your children.
Oh, yeah. So hard to be away from them.
But I try to sell this to Jessamy as the benefit of the benefit. So so I just want to say thank you so much for all this knowledge that you share with our students. I think it was great. It was fantastic. And this is being recorded, so all the students that could not watch this presentation today will be able to watch from Saturday, I think, or next week. So thank you very much, and I will say bye to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Jessamy.